Alright, this is a walkthrough of Mastery Exam FA Practice Version 1, Problem 6. Again, we're given a difference quotient here, and just to remind ourselves, the function f here that we're working with is 2x squared plus 3x minus 3. And we're asked to calculate this difference quotient. And just like the difference quotient, which is slightly different looking in problem 5 here, the way through this problem is just to break it up into a bunch of small steps that are easy to do. The first thing to do is to calculate the numerator, which means I need f of x, f of a, and then I need to subtract those two things. And then once I have that, I'm going to divide off by x minus a. How that all plays out, we may not be totally sure, but we're just going to take it step by step. So, first step, f of x, well, that's given to you right here. There's nothing to calculate. That's actually supplied for you in the problem statement. So just copy it down and leave it. F of a, the next thing in the numerator, that's simply what I get when I plug a in for this function. So that gives me 2a squared plus 3a minus 3. Now I've got to subtract those two things. So let's set that up. F of x minus f of a. Let's tuck it down underneath here. Here's f of x. And here's a really important step here. I am subtracting all of f of a, so I need to parenthesize it. I need to parenthesize what f of a is. 2a squared plus 3a minus 3. If I leave the parentheses off, as we saw in problem 5, I'm only subtracting or actually problem 4, I'm only subtracting the first term of f of a and not all three of them. So I have to have parentheses here. And I also need to now simplify what's in the parentheses. Okay, by that I mean I'm going to now carry out the subtraction. I'm subtracting 2a squared. I'm also subtracting 3a. And I'm subtracting negative 3, so that's a plus 3. And that's the numerator up here. I do see a couple, or actually just one thing I can cancel out, the plus 3 here and the minus 3 here. Okay, so the numerator, maybe I'll just kind of point to it like this. The numerator is 2x squared plus 3x minus 2a squared minus 3a. That's just the numerator part. Now I'm going to clear some space here, and let's think about the rest of this problem here. Alright, so I now need to think about the fraction. The numerator is, oops, forgot my pen. The numerator is 2x squared plus 3x minus 2a squared minus 3a. And this is all over x minus a. Now clearly, the thing we need to do here is cancel off the x minus a's. Now as we've seen a couple of times in the Mastery exam so far, you cannot cancel things in a fraction unless you factor first. But it's not totally clear what the factoring ought to be. And let me just kind of give a step that seems obvious but actually ends up going nowhere. I'm going to put this in orange because it's not the way we're not going to stick with this. I'm just going to write it out. The obvious factoring is to look at the first couple of terms and factor an x off, like so. And then look at the next two terms and factor off an a. Or maybe a minus a, because I see those two things subtract, and I'd be left with 2a plus 3. And all that over x minus a. Now that is a correct factorization on the top, but here's the problem with that. Students want to go overboard and now say, hey look, x minus a, and so we cancel these like so. Now that is not correct. We do not want to do that because the x minus a up here is not a factor. It's not something being multiplied. Remember, we're not playing checkers here. Just because I see an x and an a and an x and an a, I don't just cancel them out or cross them out. It has to be a real factor of x minus a before I can cancel it. I need to have the top of the fraction here looking something like x minus a times a whole bunch of other stuff. And then if that's over x minus a, I could cancel those out. Now I don't have that right here, so I need to back up and be careful about the factorization I choose. Again, the factoring that I did here on the top is correct, but it does not yield a common factor of x minus a that I can cancel off, so I got to go back and try something else. Let's do that. So what would be a good step here? Well, another thing we can do, if that factoring didn't work, one thing we can do is try to rearrange some terms. I'll look at the top here, and I'm going to do something that you may not see why this is going to work, but it will, is I'm going to take the squared terms and put them together, just move them around. So I'm going to move the 2a squared up next to the 2x squared, and what I'm left with here is a plus 3x minus 3a. x minus a. That was just rearranging the furniture, rearranging the terms on the top. But that gives me a nice way to factor here that we'll see right now. The first two terms now have a common factor of 2. That's not all that interesting, but I'll go ahead and factor it out. The second two terms have a common factor of 3. This is all over x minus a. All right, now what you might notice here, what pops out at you, is that I have a factor of x minus a here. Now I would need to have a factor of x minus a here as well, and actually I do if you see one thing here, and that's x squared minus a squared itself will factor into something. I'm going to move this all over here so I can have some room. So this is 2 times, now x squared minus a squared, this term here, factors into x plus a times x minus a. And that's a big deal. Plus 3 times x minus a. And this is all over x minus a. Right, so now I'm going to highlight this in orange. Look at what we have. I have a common factor of x minus a on both terms on the top. So that means I can factor it off. And here's what I get. I would get this common factor of x minus a. Let me put that in red. X minus a. And when I factor that off, I'm left with a bunch of stuff. I'm left with, put this in big square brackets. I'm left with this term. When I remove this x minus a, I'm left with 2 times x plus a. When I remove it from this term, I'm left with plus 3. And this is all over x minus a. And now I really can go through and cancel off these guys right here because they have a common factor, a common multiplied thing to the top and the bottom. I've really run out of room here. Like I said, this is a pretty computationally complex problem. You can pause this if you want to, if you need to copy down, but I'm going to get rid of some things here so I can finish off the problem. Just erase. Oops. What is it with me and my pen here? All right, so once I make this cancellation, I'm left with only the things in the square brackets here. That's 2 times quantity x plus a plus 3. And a good last step here would be to simply multiply the 2 through. 2x plus 2a plus 3. And that's my answer. Whew, that makes me pretty happy that I got that. Again, the key step in this, if you just rewind it, I won't go back and rewrite it all over again. And really the key step is just taking this fraction one step at a time, you know, getting your f of x first, your f of a second, subtracting third, and then dividing off by x minus a fourthly. This division step involves a factorization go back and study what we did in this problem, and it will be the exact same thing in all problems that are like it, like you will see on these mastery exams. So, and it's just another instance of factoring before canceling. So that's how we calculate that difference quotient, and that gets us to the end of mastery exam FA.